This is the Roxanne Show. Get ready. It's time to rise. I'm so excited to dive right into today's episode because today's episode is all around your future self, specifically my future self, and the journey that I've gone through to develop this relationship with this incredible expression of myself, aka my highest self, right? Creating a connection with her, generating real clarity around who future Roxanne is. How did I actually even get to this place where I identified her and then forged a relationship with her? How this relationship, since, it being forged, has impacted my life every single day in tremendously valuable ways. How I believe with all my heart that you will also benefit from creating a relationship with your future self, and specific ways that I believe it will impact your life right now. And then towards the end, I'm going to share some really, really powerful journal prompts, all related to your future self and, what encompasses your future self. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that, because these journal prompts are really going to help you to dive into the essence, or at least the starting point of the essence to your future self. So the first place I want to start is, where did this even come from in my life? So I'll back up and just say that for years and years and years, I've always been very creative about the ideas of who I am becoming and, what does my future life look like? And I would do some fun creative things such as, Italian Vogue, French Vogue, find these, beautiful fashion magazines and take out some of the beautiful editorials that had a vibe to it. So sometimes it was definitely the clothes, but it was also more about like the essence of, what was being exuded from the woman in the shoot. Also just the overall energy of these images. I would tear them out. I would put them in my journal and I would write little notes to myself. So that was really, I would say that was the starting point. When I took it to another level was about 10 years ago. And it's almost like I started to be a little bit more analytical in my process, right? Started very analytical, logic turned into very mystical. And the union of this sort of scientific formula of, creating, identifying my future self, and then fusing that with the power of creativity through mysticism, just took it all to a fucking another level. So I'll share this with you. About 10 years ago, I started to future pace in my journal. So I would actually write like a day in the life of, future Roxanne. And at the starting point, there was a big focus on, future Roxanne's career, life, material possessions like the home, relationship, financial, status, all of that, which is all very important and relevant when you're thinking about, your future self and your future life. But what really, really, really started to shift things for me, specifically around creating a relationship with her, is when I started to focus on the qualities of future Roxanne, i.e. self-identity, her actual character, right? And, this became not only really fun for me to think about and to write about in my journal, but when I was not in my journal, it was affecting me every single day throughout my day and how I moved. And I'll explain that in just a moment. So just to give you a couple of examples, I started to really focus on certain qualities like attributes, her values. So like an attribute is that she's very, very composed. She's very stoic, especially when, there's challenges. She always has her shit together. And that is something that I loved, feeling into and scripting about and really absorbing, deeply within me, so that I can start to embody more of that composure, especially in the face of challenge. Another quality that I immediately just started to identify in her was her ability to make powerful decisions. powerful decisions. That's something that I deeply value, right? So that was immediately infused into her. And and then it goes on, there's core beliefs, there's, what are her standards? What kind of behaviors and habits does my future self have? So it's a lot of work, right? To start to really think about all the facets of this is what I call your self-identity ecosystem, right? Your core beliefs, your personal standards, your core attributes, core or guiding principles, your boundaries, and your core values, right? That's what I frame as your self-identity ecosystem. So it's a lot of work to dive into all of each individual territory, but I really took to the work. I loved it. It was fun to journal, this out and really architect my future self, right? So after, I don't remember exactly the timeline, but journaling was the first place that I really started to dive into the details of her as just, shared with you. When it went to a whole nother level is when I started to visualize my future self in my meditation. And this is a really fun story. Maybe if you've been listening to this podcast for quite some time, you probably have already heard me talk about the woman in the mirror, AKA my muse, who is also my future self, also my highest self. So in meditation, and this is important to insert, it was easier to see her in meditation because of all the journaling that I had done on her, right? I became so clear on the qualities of this woman that, starting to see her in my meditation just became easier. And it's interesting. So how she started to show up for me in meditation is in this beautiful big home of mine, specifically in the master bedroom, bathroom, and in the mirror. And this is why she became the woman in the mirror. And the woman in the mirror, my future self and I, would have conversations in my meditation, still do to this day. And it was so impactful when this first started to come into my life because, it's interesting. Like you might hear this, not you personally, one might hear this and think like, well, that's interesting. Or it's like, oh, you're making this all up in your head or any of that stuff. And you know what? I won't even argue that. Cool. What was so profound for me is that there would be some days where I'd show up to meditation and I was in some kind of less than high vibrational frequency. Maybe I was going through some challenge or, troubled around something, confused around something, whatever it is, any of that energy. And when I'd go into meditation and see the woman in the mirror, she didn't have that energy at all. She had the energy, I have chills right now. She had the energy of that stoic, wise, warm, compassionate, authentic, powerful woman, right? The woman that I have totally become connected to first through journaling and then, moving forward in my meditation. Do you understand? So she's me, and yet she had this different energy at times when I was showing up with a certain energy, right? So like her energy was always the goal, right? But I could show up however I was. And the support that I gained, and again, still to this day, in those moments of meditation. For example, I could be asking her a question. There was actually, this happened just recently. So recently, I asked her some kind of question that was almost leading to like, tell me what's going to happen in the future. And she said to me in her wise, stoic, beautifully composed self, she said, I am not here to predict the future for you. I am here to help you shape your future. I was like, oh, fucking mic drop. You know what I mean? I mean, that shit fucking hits me hard in that moment because it's so it's like coming through me, but it's not me. Does that make sense? And yeah, it is at the same time. So hopefully you can stick with all this. But the point I'm trying to make is that I have created a pathway, a channel to communicate with my future self, who is also my highest self. When you think about highest self is like this spiritual entity of your being that doesn't participate with the human condition. Like the human condition, fear, worry, doubt, lack, all this stuff that we all move through every day constantly. Highest self doesn't do that. It's like consciousness, it's the highest expression of you. And that is my future self, right? That is my future self. So to create a pathway where I can channel communication with this highest expression of myself is pretty fucking powerful. So I want to point out some of the most significant, and this is not all, but there's a lot here. Some of the most significant gains that I acquired in my life as a result of developing a relationship with the woman in the mirror, my future self, my highest self, and my muse. I was actually scripting this out because I was getting ready, to share this with you on this episode. And even just going through this process of, all the gains that I'm about to share with you, it's just so incredible. And it's so fucking real. And I'll give you examples, like real life examples of some of these specific gains that I'm going to lay out to you right now. So number one, I've gained so much more clarity on my core values, my core goals, my standards, and my core attributes. And all of that is so fucking massive. Number two, more self-accountability or personal accountability. This is huge. So this has increased my discipline. This has increased my ability to show up consistently in all the areas of my life that I want and need to be showing up. It has created stronger boundaries. It's upgraded my standards, my behaviors and habits, all to support me to actually be the woman in the mirror, to embody her and to create the life that I want to be living, right? So it's huge. Self-accountability, if you don't have that, it's a very flimsy life that's not going to really streamline you, get you to where you want to go, right? Number three, so much more courage and bold action. So much more. Connecting with my future self, she's my ultimate coach, mentor, best friend, soulmate, ride or die, fucking biggest fan, all of it. And she's so badass that it just gives me more confidence. It's like she's already lived through my challenges. She's faced it all. She's conquered it all, and knowing that, and I know it because I can see it in her character. I can feel it from her self-identity, right? That's outside of, all the material things and, the car she drives up when she's recording the podcast episode and, the awards for the books and all that. That stuff is great. And it's very clear to me too. But what is really powerful for me is knowing she has conquered every fear, every anxiety moment, like anxious moment, I got to go do this big thing. She's conquered it. She's, any area where courage was required, where more bold action was required to actually win, to gain, she's already lived it. So I just tap into her knowing that she's already lived it. And then in my day-to-day life, I move with more of that energy. I move with more of that courage. I move with more of that bold action. So it's huge. All right, this is one of the biggest. Creating a relationship with my future self has absolutely and exponentially expanded my self-awareness, my self-love, my self-trust, my self-confidence. And in all of that, you have more self-respect. There's more self-worth, self-ownership. I mean, all of what I just shared with you is so fucking powerful. You want very strong levels of self-awareness, self-trust, self-love, self-confidence, self-respect, self-worth. You want all of that powerfully living within you as you move throughout your life. And this connection, this relationship that I have with my future self has absolutely expanded and strengthened all of those attributes in me and continues to do so. So that is, to me, like, man, that's like one of the biggest golden, wins from connecting with my future self. So another really, really beautiful, special, and very useful skill that I've acquired through this relationship with my future self is the ability to self-soothe. So when I'm troubled, when shit gets really hard, this channel that I have now with my highest self, with my future self, that's always available to me now, because again, this has just been years of investing, connecting, and, whether it's meditation, journaling, it's so developed that, when I am in these moments, I can literally just talk with her, close my eyes, talk with her, or eyes open, talk with her. What would you do right now? How would you move right now? Ask her these questions. The answers are already within me, right? Because she is me. And that's the most beautiful part. I get to source those answers, but I already know that they're in me because I already see this expression of myself that's fucking lived through it, right? Even if it's not spelled out, this is how you do it. It's like I already know that it's been done because she is a representation of it through her own energy, right? It's so powerful to be able to self-soothe. What does that even mean? It's like, I don't run and numb myself. I don't hide from feelings that don't feel good. I have created practices and, certain tactics that support me to move through those moments and to move through them very powerfully. And she is a big reason why I've been able to develop that skill. Because again, if you think about like also the composure piece, that I mentioned in her, my ability to self-soothe, to bring myself home into a state of harmony in the midst of chaos or challenge is why I can actually move with more equanimity and more composure in my life on a day-to-day. Do you see that connection? I've been able, because I identify it in her very powerfully, very clearly, I have developed certain skills and tactics that when shit hits the fan or when there's any kind of, maybe I'm fucking hormonal, that's a real thing. I have developed skills to help me move through that powerfully, like to go inward instead of trying to run out and, avoid and to numb. And sadly, that's what most people do. And you know what? You're never fucking solving anything when you're doing that. And I say that with love and compassion, but I also say that very boldly and, with conviction, because it's the truth. You can never run from yourself, no matter how fucking hard you try. So having the ability to go inward, which doesn't mean you can't get external support. It's just saying that there's always ways to develop skills that will help you to be able to move through any kind of emotional dysregulation, challenges, that you're facing. But you have to be willing to do that work. And when you have created a powerful relationship with your future self and you see that she has these qualities, that's going to make a fucking massive difference in you being able to do that. So that's a huge one for me. Another one, and I mentioned this earlier, so my decision-making skills have become much stronger, and that is so important. And it's something that I work on as a constant, not because I was weak at it before, not even, but because what I see about her in that particular region, that decision-making skill, first of all, that's a skill that affects, your entire life, because your entire life is the result of the decisions that you're making. So you want to make some powerful ones. I don't do good or bad either. That's just all judgment. I do powerful or disempowering, right? And I want to stay powerful in my decision-making process, right? And the good or bad, the reason why that's also not even interesting to me is because I can make a powerful decision that might put me into more challenge, right? It could seem like, oh, maybe that wasn't a great decision, but no, actually I had to go through that fucking challenge, and face all those things because those sharpened certain aspects of my being, my self-identity that would then come out, in stronger ways and then powerfully affect the rest of my life, right? So it's still a powerful decision. And that leads me to also this massive gain, which is the ability to turn up the volume on my intuition. I've always been very intuitive my entire life and felt very connected to it. But to have a relationship now with my future self the way that I do has just put the fucking loudspeaker on the intuition. What are some of the benefits of that? Well, you can read people so fast and so easy. And that is definitely a gift and a skill for me. You can sense your direction. Like what, do you say yes to this? Do you say no to this? Do you go this way? Do you go that way? Just again, it supports the decision-making skill aspect, right? So, and then just leading with more intuition helps you to stay more authentic in your life too, because your authentic self and your intuition, I really do believe is like a voice woven into one, right? Your intuition is always usually fucking right. I mean, I've never been off about my intuition personally. I've denied my intuition before. I've shut it down before, like, oh, I'm not going to hear you right now, even though I can't not hear you, right? So, creating a relationship with my future self has certainly advanced my intuitive skills. It's really a skill. All right, 2 more powerful benefits that have arrived to me as a result of me identifying, architecting, and connecting with my future self are my relationship with uncertainty has absolutely fucking shifted. Absolutely shifted in the best way possible. So instead of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Fear. It's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Now, again, it's not like I was walking around my whole life like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like fear. No, and I've always taken what I call the scenic route, which is the unpaved route, which is the authentic route, right? So I've always been dancing with the uncertainty on such a different level, literally my whole fucking life. I call it the maverick gene. But creating a relationship with my future self is so interesting because what it has done is it gives me a sense of, I know what is coming for me, even though I don't know truly, none of us do, but I have this North Star expression of myself showing me who I'm becoming, who I arrived to, right? By the way, she's always expanding because I'm always expanding. She's always leading me. So she's always going to be ahead, right? So having this clarity around her and her life and, in very detailed ways. Like I see the homes, I see, the career expansion. I see all the things that are important for me to see. Most importantly, her, right? Her behaviors, her habits, her self-identity, all of that. Because I have such a clear vision of her and her life, it gives me more peace facing uncertainty. Does that make sense? Because she anchors me in a very safe place, in a very safe knowing that even if I don't know what's coming next, I know her. And that's all I fucking need to know. This is a really good place to insert this. It's so important to think about this idea that you are creating your reality. Your reality isn't creating you. Your life isn't creating you. Your home doesn't make you you. Your business doesn't make you you. Your relationships doesn't make you you. Your money doesn't make you you. You make all of that, right? You want the most epic relationship, name all the qualities, whatever. Are you that partner and that person that's going to call in that relationship? Because that relationship doesn't make you you. Do you see what I'm saying? Your money. Like, do you want to be a millionaire? Cool. Do you think a millionaire shapes you? Or is it that you have developed the mindset, the skills, the habits, the behaviors that the millionaire has that then creates the $1 million? Do you see what I'm saying? This is where my quote, "the inner shapes the outer," came to me because it's just pretty simple. Who you are and the relationship that you have with yourself is shaping your life, which is why getting into a very empowered, trusted, loving, revered relationship with yourself is literally the most important thing that you could ever do in your life, because it's going to shape your entire fucking life. The trajectory of your life is going to be shaped by the relationship that you have with yourself. So the last benefit that I want to point out in me connecting with my future self, identifying with her, is that it has absolutely expanded my consciousness. And that's huge, Low-level consciousness creates a low-level life. The more expanded your consciousness, the more expanded you are, and so is your life. You're not so self-centric. You have the ability to look outside of yourself. Your perspective widens. It's really huge. You grow more empathy, more connectivity to highest self. In my world, also universe, spirit, source. It's very soul enriching. You really do feel more fulfillment as a higher conscious individual. So this is a huge, huge benefit to gaining, from gaining this relationship with, your future self. Okay, I want to give you some examples of how she actually shows up in my day-to-day life. And this is very practical, but how she shows up and how in the showing up, it gives me the opportunity to start embodying my future self. One of the best examples is when I feel frustrated by a situation. And it could be like the stupidest thing, like, oh, I've been on hold, with this whatever CVS for so long, and then I got disconnected, and then I had to call back. And we've all had that, right? Cable company, you name it, whatever. And when I start to feel that annoyance, like moving through me, that energy, because my future self is such a bad fucking ass at times of challenge. And again, she's so I'm so clear on her stoic, composed quality that when I really start to get irked and that feeling starts to come up, I'm like, I think of her. How would she move in this moment? Or maybe there's like a real challenge that I'm moving through. Real challenge, business challenge, life challenge, personal challenge, whatever. Again, I'm so clear on her. The minute I feel a deep challenge like that, it's an opportunity for me to embody my future self. You have to be clear on who this future expression of you is to be able to call in those qualities to then move into the embodiment of this expression of yourself. But hopefully at this point, you're starting to understand how powerful this actually is. There's so much happening in life where we want to better our lives, better ourselves, whether it's health and fitness, finances, relationships, all of that stuff. All of it is valid. But what I'm trying to really share here is that the core of the transformations that will take place in desired ways is going to come when you transform yourself. You have to shift your identity. It's the only fucking way it happens. And you have to know what you want to shift into. And this is where your future self comes in and supports you. This is why I created my digital course that I just launched. And I'm so fucking proud about this because this is the most beautiful, powerful, feminine, badass blueprint to help you in this very concentrated, fun, mystical, also very tactical and practical way to create this relationship with your future self. Because you might be listening to this and goes, this all sounds great. Like, oh my God, where do I even begin? That's why I created a course, because I've lived this. And I know what it takes to actually create a really clear and powerful, not just idea, but connection with your future self. And when you do this, your whole life changes. Examples just given, right? So before I move on to the journal prompts that are going to be so powerful for all of you who will actually invest in the time to do them, to help you start to really get into this future self energy, I want to ask for some support. This podcast is helping so many of you. It's been incredible to get some of the latest reviews and ratings for the show. I mean, truly, my heart is so moved to get the messages that I've been getting and seeing the reviews. Some of you DMing me and sharing it with me. It truly moves not only my heart, but also my team, because everyone's over here at the Roxanne Show kicking ass to make sure that this show is growing in the most powerful ways for you. So I would love so much first of all, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit subscribe, because that makes a massive difference in growing the show. And if you're listening to this on any platform that you take in your podcast, in the show notes, there is a link that is always there for you, YouTube as well, to rate and review this podcast. I made it really easy by just adding this link so you don't have to actually, look for it, because sometimes that could be really confusing. Where do I do this? So if you just go into the show notes, and it literally takes less than a minute, unless you want to write a review, and then however long that takes you. Thank you for that. But yeah, this is really, really helpful. It really doesn't just help me and the show, but it helps everybody else who gets to learn about the show, because you are literally helping the show grow. So thank you again to all of you who have actually been taking the time to do this. And I have a goal. Maybe this will really help you help me, because I'm here to help you. But I have a goal to get at least 50 more reviews and ratings before the end of the year. That's not even that much, but I need you to help me achieve that goal. So can we do that together? If you could just literally take a moment to go into the show notes, hit 5 stars, and if you'd like to leave a review, that would be amazing. And if you do that as well, please screen grab the review, DM it to me at Roxy Look, and my team will send you one of our beautiful guided digital opulent women journals. Okay, so now back to the episode. So I want to share some of these really powerful future self journaling prompts that I know will really make a difference in how you start to conceptualize and architect and then connect with your future self. So number 1, what are some of your core values? And this is really huge. In my digital course, you get this 67-page workbook that asks you this question, because it's a big part of one of the core activations, so one of the core teachings. And we list out the values, a lot of the values for you. I mean, obviously there's so many, but it's so important because your core values actually make a massive difference in your decisions that you're making in your life, right? Because you always kind of anchor and refer back to your core values, right? If health is a core value of yours, then you're probably going to be, hopefully, making decisions that keep that core value intact, right? You're not going to go out and eat a bunch of things and, just do a bunch of things that damage your health. If health is truly a core value, this is why you have to get very clear, because your authentic, core value may be, it can't just be an idea. It has to be, no, this really matters to me. This is really important to me. And by the way, some of them will change throughout your life, right? But just starting to get clear on what some of your core values are is going to make a massive difference in your authentic self, the relationship that you have with your authentic self, which is also a huge, huge part of the teachings in my Future Self digital course. Next, what would more clarity on your values, on your goals, and on your passions, your core passions do for you? So let me say that again. What would more clarity on your core values, your big goals, high, hard goals, and your core passions do for you right now? What would that clarity do? Clarity is so important. And honestly, a lot of the reasons why a lot of people don't achieve certain goals is because they actually lack real clarity around what it is that they want. And then if you don't know what you want, you certainly are not going to know how to fucking get there, right? So what would more clarity on your core values, your core goals, high, hard goals, and your core passions do for you right now? All right, this is a big one. What are some of the perceived limitations you are creating your life from right now? Let me give you some examples. I don't have time to focus on me. I can't afford that right now. And you might say no, that's a real thing. I was well, is it? I don't know. Journal about it. Is it really real, or is it just that you're choosing to see it from that perspective? Here's another one. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough, right? These are all limiting beliefs that you may not even be conscious that you're actually creating your life with. This is why, again, journaling is so powerful. You take these thoughts, these beliefs, and you put them on paper. Inserting this very important note here, never doing any of this work with judgment. You take the judgment off, I call it the student lens, put the student lens on, take the judgment lens off, and study with curiosity, because you're here to learn. You're not here to judge yourself. You're not here to shame yourself. You're here to actually love yourself so fucking much that you are curious to learn, even if it's something that doesn't make you feel good, right? But what are some of the perceived limitations that you are currently creating your life from? Next, how would stronger decision-making skills impact your life right now? How would stronger decision-making skills impact your life right now? Such a powerful one. Have you even thought about your decision-making skills? Do they even matter to you? Maybe they will now after this episode. I want them to, because again, your decisions are literally shaping your life. So you want to get really empowered in your decision-making process. This one, so important. How would unconditional self-love impact your life right now? How would it impact your behaviors, your self-talk, your habits, your relationship? Unconditional self-love. So important. I know that could seem like a very far out, almost unreachable concept, but it's very real to be able to cultivate unconditional self-love. I see me, I feel me, I own me for all the parts that I am, all the ways that I am. And the parts of me that don't feel good, that's okay, because I know that I can pivot, I can transmute, I can shift any parts of me that don't feel good, that don't serve me. This is unconditional self-love. What would it do for you in your life right now? All right, the final journal prompt. What core wound are you currently carrying with you in your life that's creating guilt, shame, resentment, pain, any or all of those very low vibrational frequencies? What core wound are you carrying? What would it look like? What would it feel like in your life to release that core wound, aka heal from it? Really powerful. Every journal prompt I just gave you correlates with one of, and there are actually more, one of the core activations. That's my word instead of module. I don't do modules. We activate this information, right? Some people, I'm just so picky with words because I'm a fucking writer and words are an energetic experience. Words cast spells, right? So I can't do modules, you guys. It's just a very ugly word, Who created that anyways? But an activation is sexy. Right? And every journal prompt that you just took in correlates with one of the core activations in my digital course. So let me just close out by saying this. Whether you believe and really resonate with some of the ideas that I've shared with you in this episode, I believe that if you're still listening to me right now, you probably do resonate with it. But let's just say you're like, on the fence, like talking to my higher self or whatever. Cool. I'm not here to make you believe anything that doesn't authentically, feel authentic to you, right? What I am here to do is to share what I know to be true about getting into the most unbreakable, loving, empowered, trusted, and revered relationship with yourself, right? To live a life with self-mastery, to become a self-actualized individual. That's the core premise of my work, right? And in my life, architecting, defining, connecting with my future self, aka, again, my muse, my highest self, the woman in the mirror, has made the most significant difference in this relationship with myself. Like literally the most powerful. So many women ask me how to develop more unconditional self-love or self-love, more confidence. How do I trust myself more? How do I, move past this challenge? How do I stop the limiting beliefs from controlling me? And so many other questions, right? And my answer is the future self. It truly is that. That's why I put my heart and soul and my wisdom and my experience into creating this course, because it's so important to me, to my mission, to support you with these answers, as many of you as I possibly can. Creating this course is one of the ways that I'm able to do that. So just a couple of notes on this course too. It is not a live course. It is a course where you get to take in the content at your own pace. There's 21 coaching videos. You get 3 months of free membership to my exclusive membership, Queendom, which is also where you will get one monthly Q&A call with me and the girls in the community. It's so much fun. And Queendom's so much fun. It's getting more and more fun. I do like random lives there. And, there's just a lot of very powerful feminine energy in that community. And on that note too, what makes me also so proud about this course, not just about the actual benefits that you will undoubtedly gain by doing the work, but, my whole way of moving through life is, my poetic way is to frame this is, I am where edge meets curve. And this is the harmonization of masculine, feminine energy. I don't lean too much on one side. In some situations, I might have to move more in the masculine, or other times more in the feminine. This course is that harmonization. In fact, there's a whole core activation that's centered to help around helping you embody more of this harmonization of masculine, feminine energy. But it's so sexy, the whole journey that you go on in this course. And that's really important to me. Number one, it's very authentic, just how I move and my whole experience. But I don't see that as much. And I know women crave it. I know you do, because I talk with you. I know that you want to feel the badass that you are, that warrior spirit, that edge, but you also want to hold more compassion for yourself. You want to evoke and connect with more of your sensuality and more of that kind of luscious energy, knowing how to self-soothe, knowing how to, just be kinder to yourself. Like all of that, that's the feminine, how to summon that which you desire to your life, not just actively chasing all the time. That's very masculine. There's a place for that, right? But you don't want to be in that as a woman. You don't want to always be in that role, in that energy, So the course is designed with this frequency of a woman that is very harmonized in the masculine and feminine energy. So you will, again, there's a lot of, formulas and tactics that are centered in researched psychology, neuroscience. And at the same time, there's this whole fusion of mysticism, of spiritual connection and rituals that help you get more connected in this way. So, I can go on and on about how powerful and special and unique this transformative course is. Honestly, the word course is such a turnoff for me. I almost, if there was another way to frame it, I would. This will be one of my books, by the way, too. But it is a course. And what's cool is it's really a blueprint. So I hope that what I shared with you in this episode just either started to make you think about architecting your future self, getting clear on your future self, or if you already are in future self work and maybe you already have a relationship with your woman in the mirror, maybe what I shared with you today just put more energy behind it, inspired you in some, new ways perhaps. But the main goal for me is for you to truly understand that this expression of yourself, this highest, most incredible expression of yourself, is within you. And you just have to go in and get clear on, create the clear path to this expression of yourself so that you can create a relationship with this expression of yourself, so that you can move through your life in partnership, being supported with this expression of yourself. Any questions that you have, or your favorite takeaways, or just anything that you are feeling from this episode that you'd like to share with me, I want to know about it. DM me. Roxy Look on Instagram is the best place for that. Thank you to all of you who've actually taken the time to listen to all of this. I can go on and on about the woman in the mirror in a more poetic way, but I really wanted to just give you my journey and then share some ideas and journal prompts with you that would actually help you to start thinking about your version of the woman in the mirror. I will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening, you guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review.